Hello, everyone. My name is Burcu Mikulcik. I'm here to I'm here to share the experiences behind the web application that we built, Urban Change in Time. You see IT, you see it. That was the play, but nobody got it. So, and so first of all, I will start with that's the outline. So what is it, Urban Change in Time, and why we did it, and how we did it, and in the end, what came out. So what is it? Is it's a web application, and it has a very simple story. So it's just the only thing was to create a story which explains which shows the urban growth of Vienna. So through historical maps, and also an additional part we had that where we are showing the age of the built fabric of Vienna. So only two views and just the growth of Vienna. So it has map view. We published it on 2015, if I'm not wrong, and 2015. And the building view was at the end of 2017. And so let's just continue. And yeah, so you see the map view, we are using the raster-based maps in various scales, and a lot of maps are combined all together, and we just categorize them in different time periods, which was not so easy, but we somehow made it into 10 years of interval. And in the building view, it's just displaying the period of construction and the build year of the data of the existing buildings in Vienna at the moment currently. We will go more into detail on that. And so the big question is why are we doing it? It's a big, I didn't know it in the beginning, of course, but it was a very ambitious project. And why we started with this. So when I was doing my PhD, I'm still doing my PhD, and it was the role of visualization, the main, the title is the role of visualization, the role of digital visualization in urban planning. So we were having a lot of discussions with my professor, with some experts that the visualization is really important in urban planning, and so they are expected as powerful communication tools, and they shape attention, and therefore they shape the discourse, which is the most important thing, right, in urban planning. So but they may focus on some parts, more certain parts than the other parts. So they might neglect some certain parts of it. So obviously they are objective communicative distortions. Yeah, voila. Obviously. The ones who are creating the visualizations, they are normal people or just a group of people, and they go through a process where it is always objective. It can never be subjective, right? So, but many theorists were in the belief that it's probably better to abstain them, better to leave them out, because they can really lead to serious conflicts. So especially in policy documentation, we tend to leave it out. But yeah, how can we make planning really interesting? And it's so we need to use visualization, but maybe with the notion of the planning through debate. So not at the end, but through this to come to conclusion, we can really use the visualization to somehow shape the discourse. So I'm not going to bore you with that, but so said, okay, this is the background. So so visualization is important in urban planning, right? And let's do a pilot project. Let's do something. Let's try to build something, and let's see if we can do it, if the domain is interested in this, if lay people are interested in this, and if how ready we are with the urban data. And so at that time, we were fascinated by the Swiss stoppers, the journey through time. It was, yeah, we saw it, and our jobs were dropping, of course, and it's really amazing. And we said, okay, let's start with this, and let's see how far we can go. And so it was supposed to be a very humble project. So, and obviously there are a lot of similar web applications where you can get inspired of, and yeah, so we said, okay, let's do a web application where we can show the transformation of the city of Vienna in a very simple format, just one story with a time dimension. And the big question started, of course, how can we do it? And so you need a team for that, right? And the researcher, a project manager, a designer, which I could cover these parts, but I also needed a developer. Obviously, I'm not a developer, so my background is maybe now a little interesting. So I studied urban planning, urban design in a fine arts university, so I always had a design perspective, and I happen to work in IT at the moment, so it also brings the digital part of visualization more in data protection as well. And so for the developer, at the same time, I was really having a lot of meetings with many people to gather data, to see what is out there, what can we use, what can't we use. And also I was in contact with the Technical University of Vienna informatics department if I can get their support. And they were really helpful, and they said, okay, let's just introduce your project and let's see if a student or someone would be interested in collaborating in your project. So apparently they are doing it quite often, so they preferred this instead of creating a pseudo project, they would like to use an existing project where they can just direct their students to this project. And I went there and I presented the project, and Emre, who is here right now, he came afterwards, and then yeah, he was actually he didn't have the intention of working in the project, but then he found himself so much into it. Okay, I'm just skipping this. Sorry, I cannot go.
Sorry. Should I?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just go back. So I presented, and one of the master students, he just joined the project and he got ECTS, and I got a the developer, sorry. So win-win. And at the same time, in parallel, I was on the hunt for data, and then I was having quite a lot of meetings actually with many departments, mostly municipality departments and some private institutions and university. And then at the end we realized that most of the data that I need is actually they are laying in the archives. So we need to see if they are digitalized or not, if they're georeferenced or not, and yeah. But then, yeah, we found out that it's somehow possible, and they are mostly scanned and georeferenced, and it's usable for our purpose. So that was the first part, and the second part for the building view, that was easy, because for the first part we didn't have so much publicity. After the first part, then people somehow knew us also. It was easy to get into direct contact with certain data owners, let's say. So we did not spend so much time to find the right data. And again, the city of Vienna, they were really helpful, and they just they had an amazing inventory, which was not open source at that time. It was not published. They shared it with us, and then they also published it online as open source. So what we had raster-based maps, almost like 300 of it, and the building data for vector-based map, and the vector-based map which was shared by Open Government Data. So we only worked with those. So when you ask, just share your experiences, I think we realized that when we were doing this web application, 90% of our time went to data preparation. It was really exhausting. It was really time consuming. So we received the data, yay, everything is perfect. No, not really. You really have to work on the data, because usually it's coming to you not in the desired format or desired shape that you are looking for, that you can use it. So we had to convert it. We had to work on it. First of all, we had to clean the maps, because when I first received those maps, some of them were really looking like mud, I would say, like, because they are lying in the archives, and some were like brown, almost not really visible, and we had to clean those maps, which took really also quite a long time. And then we had to convert them to GeoTIFF, because all the maps, they came like as raster maps with a projection file and a Word file, and we converted them to GeoTIFF ourselves, and so that we can also use it in VMTS, and then which is easier to display in a web browser, which makes it much more, the performance gets better. And yeah, this was a lot of time. And for the building view, which you would maybe assume that it's open source data, its data is available, it was still not really ready data for us that we can really directly use. So first of all, we had, like, from MA19 we received the building data, but some of the data, it had like 24 different sources of information. So our intention was not to tackle with the content. So we just wanted to get the data and visualize it and just try to make it public and so. But yeah, so here we also had to come up with an algorithm to find out which of these sources are most accurate, and which one we can use, and which ones we need to neglect. So that also took some time, but still, MA19, they really did an amazing job, and they most of the data, it was already went through this selection process, and they already had like one building, one build year, and one build period of construction. The second cumbersome part was the preparing the shape data. So we got the vector-based base map, but that map was having a lot of polygons. It's like a lot of polygons. So you would expect maybe just one building would correspond to one polygon, but that was not true. So we had like one building and maybe like 100 polygons together. So we had to combine them into one single shape. So that also took quite a lot of time to clean that. So anywho, in the end, we matched the shape data to a single build year, to a single period of construction, and to a single source, which is a very simple thing to do, right? So in the end, as I said, so those 300 raster maps, they integrated into our application, and we made it possible, like, to visualize, not to make it online, not only the older maps, which is easy actually to find, which is fascinating actually, but they are not subject to copyrights. They are, they are easier to find, but more recent maps, and they are just not accessible. And you can, when you do a research, like to see a transformation of a city, and you usually come up with like 3-4 images, like in 1800 it was like this, in 1900 it was like that, and today it's like this. So you don't really see any other visualization. And we wanted to have a really smooth graphed visibility to see how actually it has changed. So like we were hoping like it would be maybe like a tree, the circles of the tree, that it's really evolving like this. Yeah. And the building view, we integrated approximately 171,000 polygons into our application, and in total it has 38,000 buildings at the moment. So it's only 22% of the buildings, the entire buildings of Vienna, but they are still working on it. So let's hope that it will be close to 100 at some point. And UCIT published on June. So to be honest, in general, we have started with a very simple idea, and it was supposed to be a very humble project, but then it created maybe too much attention that we were expecting. And after having this published on June 2015, we had like instantly 7,000 visitors, and we were not even sure if we built it that good. So it was like a lot of traffic going on, and people were really spending a lot of time in there. They were clicking, and I was getting personal emails, really very positive feedback, and also some negative feedback, like why I'm using that data instead of that data. And it was a lot of attention. And then for the second one, we had like 30,000 unique visitors in December, and which, I mean, is still a lot. Why would people be interested in maps that much? I really don't understand still, but it's just, even till today, like every month we have 400 to 500 unique visitors on the website, and and they're spending quite a lot of time. And so all in all, as a result, what we wanted to do, we wanted to tell a story, one story. So not bombarding people with a lot of GIS information, like turn on, turn off, it's this info, that data, which makes it even more complicated for someone who would be maybe interested in one story, but when they come up to that web application, and they see a lot of information, bombarded with information, and they choose not to spend time on it. So we wanted to tell one story, keep it simple, really keep it clean, everything, just have a time slider and just switches and nothing more. And be transparent, which is, I think everyone would really appreciate this, right? It's just, I always liked it when the projects always explain behind how they gathered the data, how much work it was in there, and everything. So we wanted to be as much transparent as possible. We explained everything and use open source as much as possible. So our solutions, they are all open source solutions, and the Urban Change in Time web application is also available on GitHub. It's open source, and only the some of the maps, raster-based maps, they are subject to copyright, so we are paying for them. But the rest, it's open source, and one of the main intention was to attract attention. Can we just create a simple visualization and tell one story, and would people be interested in it, and would people start discussing about it, and just start a debate on certain issues, why at this Gründerzeit time there were so many buildings than the other time, or why we don't have any much more development between the world wars, this kind of stuff. So we wanted to bring people to debate, to discuss, and we actually achieved this quite a lot. And there were many discussions going on, and we were always following them, and we got good feedback from the website as well. Yeah, that was our story actually. So thank you, and send us feedback and take our survey. It's really important because I'm going to use them in my PhD at the end. Oh, sure. I hope it's working. So, I cannot. So English and German, obviously, but usually it's used in German. And when people, come, it's mainly really 80% it's the access from Austria, but it's quite diverse. So yeah. If you have any questions, just shoot.
Can I interact, or is it just kind of the running animation? Right.
Yeah. And this is the building view, and this is the map view, where for both we have the time slider, and you can go through, and these are the exact dates that we that the raster map is belonging.
So the main interaction are the layers and the time slider.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So obviously zoom in, zoom out, and the move between these layers, and nothing more. So, oops, sorry.
And when you slide through?
Like this, or move through different maps. So we also want to keep it like not like turn on, turn off. So it's just overlaps onto each other. So this is this Flickr theory that we are not really good at comparing two things at the same time. So it has to really overlap so that we can really see the change. It cannot really show one thing and then have a blank in between and then show the other thing. And we just don't, we cannot really able to follow the change in that. That's why we chose to just open it, overlap it on top of it, which would be easier to compare.